So we're just a little over halfway through summer, and I've got a few more summer themed videos for you guys, and once I get done with the summer themed videos I'll start focusing on autumn themed videos. But today I've got a video focusing on marine fragrances, and marine fragrances I always mention have been challenging for me, and they're still somewhat challenging for me, but there are marine fragrances that I'm enjoying a lot lately. Some smell really great but don't have that overdose of kind of sulfuric smells in it that will be a turn off for me. So I've got a top 15 list for you today, top 15 marine fragrances. Find out what they are coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about marine fragrances, a genre that I had a difficult time with. It's a really challenging note, and then sometimes when they do an overdose of cologne or a note, a synthetic note to emulate the smell of the sea, when they overdose that in the fragrances, it really gave me this really kind of nauseating, almost gag-inducing kind of an experience. It just made me like almost have to go throw up kind of a thing. So there are certain fragrances that still do that, which I never talk about. But these fragrances, even though they are marine focused, I really enjoy them. Some do go into citrusy direction, some go into aromatic direction, some go into floral direction, but definitely all utilizing kind of a marine kind of a smell, basically the smell of the sea breeze, the seawater, seaweed, and things like that. So I've got 15 of them here. These are all fragrances that I really love as far as marine fragrances go, and I can tolerate them if they have a note in here that is similar to cologne. I'll let you know what they are. Before I do, if this is your first time tuning into this channel and you haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. Let's get started. Going to the House of Creed at number 15, it's MILLESIME IMPERIAL. This is definitely one of the fragrances I had a little bit of a challenging time with. It was not an overdose of the smell of the seaweed kind of note or cologne type note, but there was something in here that did turn me off for a while, but I've gotten used to it and I do enjoy it, and it's kind of a fruity melon-like take on the experience of the sea, but it has fruity notes, sea salt, sea notes, musk, iris, lemons, bergamot, mandarin orange, and woods. It's kind of a creamy, I guess there's a little bit of a beachiness in here as well, but definitely the fruitiness comes through like melons, and I'm thinking more like yellow melons and orange kind of melons, like cantaloupes and things like that. So you definitely pick up those kind of notes, and there's the saltiness here, and of course the sea experience as well. And I did feature this in a salt fragrances video as well. If you haven't caught that video, there's a whole video of salty fragrances. But at number 15, it's MILLESIME IMPERIAL from the House of Creed. Moving on to number 14 with a fragrance house called ANFAS. This is SAMAHA, this one right here. This is a really heavy bottle. If you guys haven't ever held these bottles, it's really thick, really heavy. It's got lots of glass. It's a 100 ml bottle though, but this is a beautiful floral take on the sea experience. Just imagine this beautiful sunny day. You're walking along the coast. It's warm, but it's not necessarily like uber hot, and there's this maybe like a warm spring day kind of a thing. You can smell the sea, but you can also smell all the bloomed flowers and things like that, and that's what this reminds me of. So it's got notes of sea notes, citruses, there's musk, there's neroli, there's rose, and there's jasmine. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. It's an overdose of flowers with this kind of marine experience of the sea notes with citruses and of course musk. Delicious fragrance. It's ANFAS SAMAHA at number 14. At number 13, it's BREZZA di Mare from the House of I Profumi di FIRENZE. Now this is another fragrance that I had a challenging time with. As soon as I put my nose to it, I did remember that it was not a fragrance I really enjoyed, but I've gotten really used to this one because there's a very aromatic green experience contrasted with the sea notes in here. So there's definitely lots of sea notes, and I feel like there's a seaweed-like experience here with the addition of some sweet vanilla, and there's musk, and there's loads of geranium and flowers. There could be like something rosy in here as well. The geranium in here has a light minty, little rosy, aromatic green quality to it, but it's actually quite nice, and I like that sweetness that's in here against the sea notes to kind of give it a beachy vibe as well. BREZZA di Mare at number 13 from the House of I Profumi di FIRENZE. The next fragrance we're talking about is from the House of MAISON Margiela. It's A Sailing Day. And I think around this time when this first came out, I started realizing that I can get over this kind of like hatred for marine fragrances. This one definitely has kind of like an overdose of something cologne-like. Definitely you experience it, but I started, you know, using this one and wearing it, and I feel like I can really get into the idea of marine notes in fragrances and, you know, appreciating marine fragrances. But if it's still an overdose of that cologne note or something seaweed, you know, sulfuric like, it's definitely a turn off for me. But Sailing Day has sea notes, aldehydes, seaweed, chili pepper, juniper, amyl salicylate, cedar, ambergris, coriander, iris, and rose. It's lots of different notes working beautifully together. Experience is definitely like a sailing day. You're on this kind of a yacht and sailing, and you can experience the sea notes, but there's all these other, you know, kind of ingredients coming in to create for, maybe perhaps there's like this like a grove of trees, and you can smell the, you know, the trees next to you, and of course there's the floral touches along the coast as well that come in to kind of like create this beautiful sailing day experience. So Sailing Day at number 12 from the house of Maison Margiela. How many of you guys are fans of Maison Margiela? I feel like lately their fragrances have been slipping. I haven't really found a like really great fragrance from them. The last couple of releases were kind of disappointing for me. So hopefully maybe they'll have something really great for us in the future. But let me know if you're a fan of Maison Margiela fragrances. Moving on to the house of BERDOUES, Maison BERDOUES. It's AZUR Riviera. This is a very fun fragrance to wear, and it's a beautiful combination of, they have algae credited as a note. Algae has that kind of fishy experience, and there's also sea notes in here, but it's contrasted this beautiful citrus floral note of orange blossom and a beautiful warm kind of humid smell of jasmine baking under the sun kind of an experience. But it's very breezy and fresh, so you experience the kind of a breeziness from the sea notes, and it does have kind of like lightly sulfuric kind of a smell, but I feel like the flowers in here are, you know, so strong that it kind of like controls the overdose of that kind of like fishy smell. And it's also very, very fresh, and in addition to the notes I mentioned, I feel like there's also like juicy citruses in here as well. And it's a beautiful wear. It's also under $100 for this, and I think definitely very, very fresh for summertime. AZUR Riviera from the house of Maison BERDOUES. Check that out if you don't know it. Moving on to the house of Molten Brown. It's Coastal Cypress and Sea Fennel. I feel like this particular fragrance is kind of inspired by wood sage and sea salt. I'm not including wood sage and sea salt in this video because it was featured in my salty fragrances video. And as I said, if you haven't caught that video, please go catch it. But I feel like they're kind of inspired. This is inspired by that. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. But a cypress against the sea is a perfect combination, and that's exactly what you get with this one. It's definitely really beautiful. I'm featuring the EDT, but I also have the EDP. I feel like the EDT is definitely fresher for summertime. So it's cypress, sea notes, cardamom, fig leaf, cedar, violet leaves, jasmine, bergamot, musk. There's definitely an ozonic quality here and a green quality. You do experience it, but you have that kind of sea notes combination with all of the, you know, the woody notes in here, and of course you've got the greenness from the fig leaf and the cypress as well. So it's a kind of a green experience. Green trees, green leaves against kind of like the sea breeze experience with spices, and then of course the ozonic touches from the violet leaves. It's beautiful. It's Coastal Cypress and Sea Fennel at number 10. Moving on to the house of M. Micheloff. It's Oseto, this one right here. You guys familiar with M. Micheloff? I should be starting to talk a little more about this house very soon, because I really like the house and they do make some great fragrances. They're quite underrated, I think. Oseto, on the other hand, to me reminds me of a marine take on something like Acqua di Parma's Mirto de Panarea. This has a heavy dosage of myrtle. Mirto is myrtle in Italian, and I really love this note. It's something that I grew up with. We had a myrtle tree when I lived in Lebanon. We had a rooftop garden and we had this big myrtle tree, and I remember the smell of this tree, and it has these little beautiful flowers, and then there's this little berry inside it, and it's definitely captured here beautifully. It's right there, but it's contrasted with the sea notes, so you've got this kind of marine experience against this aromatic floral take on the myrtle, along with citruses. There's marigold flower, there's musk, grapefruit, sandalwood, woods, and amber. So it's definitely a more complex marine fragrance, whereas you have the sea notes and then, you know, overdose of myrtle, but you also have all these other notes coming to support the two main notes in the fragrance. It's actually really beautiful to wear. It's Osato from the house of M. Micheloff, definitely a great scent. Moving on to the house of La Parfums de Rosine. It's a Blue Abyss, this one right here. And this one I didn't like at first, but I've grown to really love it. For some reason, it really did have an overdose of this kind of algae, seaweed-like experience. But right now, if you guys don't know this brand, La Parfums de Rosine, all their fragrances feature rose in the fragrances, and this has lots of rose against this kind of very marine algae, seaweed-like experience, minerally experience. But once I started picking out the rose in here, all the other notes kind of like, you know, became not necessarily supporting notes, but I get major dosage of rose in here against the mineral notes that are in here, the algae, there's elemi resin, there's bergamot, cassis, vetiver, and patchouli. It's actually a really delicious marine fragrance. If you don't know it, do check it out. It's a slow discovery for me and one I didn't really like at first, but I really do love it now. Blue Abyss from the house of La Parfums de Rosine at number 8. Alright, next fragrance we're talking about is a house I haven't spoken much about on the channel, if at all. This is from the house of Scent Trunk. It's Simmer Dim. Very unique take on a marine fragrance, but one that sprays on so beautifully and so gorgeously. I really love this one. It wears nice, it smells great, and especially if you're walking around humid weather, this fragrance comes alive in the heat, really does. And it doesn't get fishy or anything like that, but you definitely experience this kind of very marine experience against like green aromatics against the coast or something, but more of a northern coast. Like I would think this is Northern California coast rather than somewhere down southern tropical. So you have these like aromatic herbs and weeds and things like that contrasted with the marine smell of the sea. But there's notes of neroli, hedione, milky lactones, ambergris, dry woods, beeswax, ozone. Beautiful fragrance. Not very expensive either. If you guys don't know this, this is Scent Trunk. It's Simmer Dim at number 7. Moving on to the house of Jacques Fat, it's Curacao Bay, this one right here. This is a beautiful beachy marine fragrance, and I didn't want to do a lot of beachy fragrances because I have a whole slew of beachy, tropical floral fragrances on the channel. Also the salty fragrances. If you haven't caught those, please go catch them. This is definitely lots of marine notes, also lots of tropical flowers, so it creates a very beachy experience with frangipani, marine notes, musk, tangerine, lemons, orange, petitgrain, ambergris, green notes, blackcurrant, woody notes. It's kind of like a marine cocktail with all these different citrusy notes and fruity notes and marine notes and tropical flowers. It's a beautiful fragrance, and this is definitely one I was very challenged with early along, very challenged with. When this launched with 3 other fragrances including Green Water, this was the one I stayed away from, but now I've grown to love it. Really love it. It smells great. Curacao Bay at number 6. A great scent from the house of Jacques Fat. This next fragrance is from the house of Atelier des Ors. It's Nuda Veritas, this one right here. Beautiful fragrance, really beautiful because it has these overdose of marine notes. There's like a seaweed like experience here with lots of white flowers like orange blossom, jasmine comes in, osmanthus comes in as well, with citruses of bergamot, and there's tiare flower, there's tagette, there's ambrette, there's patchouli, so it gets musky, it gets earthy, woody, but it's got an overdose of flowers, and of course there's the ambroxan in here to create for like a synthetic ambergris experience, but more woody, ambery, musky. It's just a really beautiful fragrance, and of course these bottles are just really beautiful. You can do that and kind of be hypnotized with the little gold flakes floating in the juice here. So it's Nuda Veritas from the house of Atelier des Ors at number 5. Next up, going to the house of Memo Paris, it's Ocean Leather, this one right here. And wait, this is not Ocean Leather. What am I thinking? I don't have Ocean Leather here, but I'm going to talk about Ocean Leather. Ocean Leather from Memo Paris is such a great fragrance. That was Corfu, which I featured in another video a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days, a week or so ago. But Ocean Leather is this beautiful combination of sea notes with lots of aromatics and citruses. And aromatics are herbs. There's sage, there's basil, and then of course the sea notes, the smells of the sea breeze, the marine experience, the seaweed experience, and juicy citrus. There's also violet, elemi resin, cedar, vetiver, and of course leather and nutmeg. If you don't know the Memo Paris leather fragrances, they start out with what the fragrance is about, and then they become a leather. Like African leather starts out very spicy and woody, and musky, and then becomes a leather. Here with Ocean Leather, it's starting out with lots of aromatics and the C notes, and then eventually it dries down to a leather, which is really, really great combination of notes. I really like Ocean Leather. Sorry I don't have my bottle here today, but Ocean Leather at number 4, I think you're gonna love that one. If you like aquatic fragrances a little bit, I think Ocean Leather is perfect. Moving on to the house of Cartusia, it's Amare. I've been speaking a lot about Amare, and I featured it in a salty fragrances video recently because it does feature salt, but this one also features marine notes as well, and it's a delicious combination of this beautiful marine experience with citruses and things like that. So Amare features watery notes, marine notes, salt, mint, rosemary, bergamot, cedar, gaiac wood, musk, and patchouli. It smells great. If you're not a fan of marine fragrances, this one, you can try all of these fragrances. Try them and see. You might be more sensitive. I started out being more sensitive to some of these, and they grew on me, so you're gonna have to sample them. I wouldn't blind buy if you hate marine fragrances. I would absolutely avoid that, because you'll definitely get something that'd be like, whoa, what the heck was he thinking recommending that fragrance? But Amare is a really delicious fragrance. I really love it. That's why it's featured at number 3. Moving on to the house of Frederic Malle, it's Le Mediterranee. Really one of the best marine fragrances. Really love the contrast of the marine notes, the sea notes with the lily. The lily in here, of course, I guess it's a Mediterranean lily because it's called Le Mediterranee, or maybe it refers to lily on the Mediterranean. But the lily in here has a kind of a spiciness about it, like a clove spice. Really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance. It's lily, sea notes, lotus flower, angelica, orange blossom, ginger, musk, and vanilla. The addition of lotus flower in here adds a kind of a watery effect. Whenever I see water lily or lotus flower in fragrances, you can kind of experience a kind of like watery quality. So not only does it have the sea notes in here, so you get a very marine experience, but you also get a watery experience. Really delicious fragrance. Le Mediterranee at number 2. And my number 1 favorite marine fragrance for a while now is L'Artisan Parfumeur's Un Air de Mediterranee. Wait, no, not Un Air de Mediterranee. It's Un Air de Bretagne. Great, great fragrance. This one, they claim, does feature the note of cologne, which is very, very tolerable. And what I like about Un Air de Bretagne is the fact that it's lots of citruses contrasted with marine notes. So you've got this kind of lemony, citrusy experience with the kind of the addition of the sea notes. And there's also seaweed in here, of course, the cologne. So you've got the contrast of marine with citruses. It's the juicy, lemony kind of citruses. Along with those 2 notes, you have cypress, cedar, ambergris, and neroli. Really one of the best marine fragrances in my book. I really love the way it smells, and it wears beautifully in the summertime. But like as I was saying just a little while ago, if you're challenged with marine notes but you're trying to dig into it, get samples before you buy a full bottle, because these might be too you might be too sensitive to the marine qualities and fragrances. And I know people are just like me. There's people like me that cannot stand that kind of like sulfuric kind of rotten egg, rotting seaweed kind of smell. But this is amazing. This is L'Artisan Parfumeur's Un Air de Bretagne at number 1. And that's my list for you today. This is the top 15 marine fragrances video for you. Let me know what your thoughts are on these fragrances. Have you tried them? Are you curious to try them? Anything stand out to you? Do you have a favorite marine fragrance that I haven't mentioned? Please let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. I do have a cheapy bonus option for you guys. You know, my bottle is probably from the early, like almost 10 years, oh, I think it is 10 years ago is when I bought it. It's Nautica Voyage. You can get this for under 20 bucks. It is a male targeted release. I think women can totally pull this one off. And it's kind of a fruity marine experience. It's apples, green notes, lotus flower, mimosa, musk, cedar, oak moss, and amber. It's a juicy, crisp take on a sea or marine experience. And yeah, you can get it for around 20 bucks, under 20 bucks even. It's not a very expensive fragrance house. But I do like it. I just don't remember or don't know how good the quality of this fragrance is now if you went and bought it. But 10 years ago for about 20 bucks, really great smelling fragrance. Totally worth it. To me, probably also this is one of the least marine fragrances in this whole list. For me, it's more ozonic and watery, aquatic, rather than full-on marine. Anyway, Nautica Voyage is the bonus fragrance for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for another video tomorrow. Bye-bye.